Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhammang sanghang namasami. Welcome everybody to this Tuesday evening program at the Dhamma Darini in California. The theme for the conversation tonight will be something about letting go. In a way, it's an extension from the conversation we had this evening, I should say this past weekend, where we spoke about how seeing things in a conventional way is a problem, and many of the special methods of meditation and contemplation, the kinds of reflection that the Buddha offered, are designed to help us break through and escape from the trap of the conventional way of seeing things. So I thought for tonight we might again come back to the elements meditation and see whether, while coming into meditation, that what you experience is just what it seems to be on the surface, or whether it becomes something different than that as you look more closely. So that's my idea for tonight's meditation. I think we can go right ahead and come to an upright and balanced meditation posture. Settling the body in a good posture that's upright and balanced, that you can keep in stillness for during this meditation. And as much as possible, letting go of the excitement or the thoughts about something that happened earlier, or worries about something that might happen later, making the determination to simply be fully present, fully aware of what's arising in the here and now. Aware that this body and this individual has the 6 sense bases. So whether eyes are opened or closed, there is seeing, Visible objects touch the eye. There is seeing. And the sounds touching the ear. There's hearing. And the aromas, smells touching the nose. There is smelling. And any taste in the mouth, there's tasting. And any thought touching the mind. There is cognizing, knowing. Taking a few minutes just to bring up awareness of the contact, whatever is touching the senses. Not only touching the body, but any other sense impression that comes in. Aware of the feeling that comes up. Aware of the rapid changing, all of the contacts on the six senses, and the flow of the feelings that arise from that, whether pleasant or unpleasant or neutral, constantly changing and shifting feelings. And if the mind is calm enough to come to a more simple object, let go of this ever-changing river of contact with the senses and just turn the mind towards the simplicity of the earth element, meaning whatever is hard and solid within. If you can keep the mind resting in awareness of earth element, then stay there. But if the mind is still restless, come back to awareness of the six senses, more of an active kind of object of meditation, to keep the mind engaged. Stay connected to the touching of the many contacts of the senses until the mind has had enough and able to let go of that and just go to the simplicity of the earth element. Aware of the water element, internally, whatever is wet and sticky. and aware of the fire element inside, whatever is warm or burning inside the body. And aware of the air element inside, whatever is moving like the breath. And ignoring the conventional body with all of its parts and pieces. Just paying attention to the elements. Only the earth element, the water element, the fire element, and the air element. Letting the body disappear and just be those elements. seeing each element, inside, outside, the same. Only element, only earth. Not me and not mine. Just the earth element. Just the water element. Just the heat element. Just the air element. Not me and not mine. Just the simple element. And seeing that each element is not myself, not mine. Turning the mind away from the earth element, detaching from the element until the only thing left is the consciousness element. aware of the mind itself, and aware of the elements inside this body and outside. And aware of the senses touching the body, touching awareness with so many moments of contact through the senses. Dear friends, I wanted to take a theme tonight about the investigation of dukkha and how it comes to be that when we understand dukkha as it really is, it's possible to turn away, let go, give up, and it can be a kind of like a breakthrough to the fading away of all kinds of inflamed greed or inflamed desire or passion. That those reactions can disappear, and then it can be possible to realize the destruction of the taints or the whatever it was that was holding us back from liberation, and to realize liberation itself. All of this fantastic sequence that appears in many different places in the suttas, arising from the knowing and seeing, in particular the five aggregates, which is the Buddha's, the five aggregates are attachment to form, meaning the body, attachment to feelings, attachment to perceptions, attachment to volitional formations, and attachment to this cognition, this knowing factor itself. That these five kinds of attachments are the Buddha's concise summary of abnormal psychology. This is the psychology that takes us to be locked in to dukkha. So it's possible that the investigation of dukkha, knowing and seeing how it is, how it operates, can lead to the mind becoming disillusioned with dukkha. And then when you're finally willing to let go of dukkha, then you can let go of dukkha and go beyond it. Sambe sankara dukkati yada panyaya pasati atanim bindati dukkhe e samaggo visuddhiya. All conditioned things are unsatisfactory. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. This is the path to purification. That will be the passage of the verse in the Dhammapada. There's a word that seems to be difficult to translate, which is called nibbida in Pali, or the verb form is nibbindati, and Bhikkhu Bodhi translates that as disenchantment. Then for a while he was translating it as revulsion, and then he went back to disenchantment. So what it means in the context of how it's used, it has like this special technical meaning that appears in the same formula over and over again, and it's kind of surprising that something that appears so many times in a particular sequence that we should have so much trouble with translating it. But it's how it appears in ordinary speech is always involved with giving up and walking away. So the Bodhisattva studied with various spiritual teachers, and then he was disappointed that the teaching didn't lead to liberation and went away from those teachers. So that was his nibbindati, he went away. He was disappointed and he went away. Very often Mara, the evil one, comes to try to persuade a bhikkhu or a bhikkhuni or the Buddha to give up their quest for awakening, and instead to just settle down into having a ordinary secular life and doing merits. And in those stories, the way it very often comes about is that the bhikkhu or the bhikkhuni says, "I see you, Mara," and then Mara is disappointed, and he goes away. And that's using this word nibbindati. In another example, there's a sutta. It's called Vesali Sutta. It's in the Samyutta Nikaya, where they talk about a tortoise who sees the danger. A jackal is coming to eat it, and the tortoise withdraws its four limbs and head, and withdraws inside of the shell. And the tortoise tries to get it to extend one of the limbs or to extend the head so that he can grab hold and kill it and eat it. But the tortoise does not extend anything outwards. He stays within. And so then the jackal is disappointed, has nibbida, and gives up and goes away. The nibbida, so it has this idea of disappointment, that you are trying to find the answer in one domain. You thought that, by some kind of endeavor in life, that this was going to be the source of happiness, and then you find the deeper you look that say, no, this is not it. Even if you're trying through obtaining advanced meditation and learning how to practice samadhi and to develop jhana to be able to withdraw from painful sensations and experience the blissful feeling of meditation, if you thought that was going to be the answer, and then you realize, oh, it still is not the final answer. And so then there's this letting go and walking away. This probably does not mean disgust or revulsion. You do see nibbindati in terms of being disappointed with the body, for example, and the body is described as having all kind of illnesses and boils and disgusting qualities, and so you become disappointed in the body and go away. But then you also see nibbida equally in many other formulas where the content is not anything that's inherently disgusting or repulsive in that way. And there's some other phrases that do mean disgust. Okay, here's the Pali word, the attiyati, harayati, jigucchati, where one feels ashamed, disgusted, or repulsive about something. And so then you turn away from that. That comes up in the explanation of letting go, that if a meditator sees that the thought of hatred comes up, or that the thought of harming comes up, or if the thought of sensual greed comes up, then they feel disturbed, ashamed, and disgusted. And they cut off those unwholesome thoughts quickly with that sense of disgust. But that's not what nibbida is. Nibbida is something else. It's just this situation where the hopes or expectations that a person had are disappointed, and one becomes able to walk away. You give up. You give up having hope that that's going to be the place or something that you can hold on to. Recently, I had an experience with the way that the mind fabricates stories, which is actually been a really powerful experience for me, and something that I think is going to help me for many years to come, as being a way that this tendency of the mind to fabricate stories is not the least bit trustworthy. There was some kind of a situation something that happened in the past, and I had just latched onto an idea that at the time the people involved were really doing their best, and they were being prudent and wise and doing the best they could to make the right decision. And so we shouldn't blame them. But then, I kept sort of investigating and looking at the past diaries and so forth, like what was actually going on at that situation. And suddenly, it just came to me that this entire, the problem that I thought was the one that people were being so wise and good and taking care of it, actually that problem was not happening at that time. That problem was happening at a completely different year. And so I couldn't say that people were being wise and good and really making an effort to solve that problem, because it wasn't there. It didn't exist. And so it just came to me just how people need stories. You can't really stop from creating stories about your own biographical self, your life story, how you came to be, or what needs to be done. If I wanted to arouse your higher emotions, I could use a story to lift you up and make you feel inspired, and that could be, possibly a good use of a story, but even then, it's so unreliable what the mind does when it makes these creations. I have a favorite story that is the example for me of, this is at the secular level, of a wholesome kind of story making, and that is the speech that Senator Obama gave to the Democratic Convention in 2004, in which he said that there's another side of independence, and that's that we're all related to each other. That if an elderly person in Chicago doesn't have enough money for both the rent and the medicine, then that's my problem, even if it's not my mother. That was how he said it. And then he said that this country is not made up of a red America and a blue America. There's one America. It's not made up of a black America and a white America. There's just one America. That this country is indivisible. That out of many, one. That's what this country is. And so like, oh, how uplifting. But then, if you really look at it, say, well, is that really true? And it's so clearly, intended as a story which will be motivation to organize and to cause people to feel inspired to be good. And so we use stories like that. But the stories that the mind fabricates are unreliable. There are many other things that are also unreliable. If you were the Bodhisattva and in the moment of awakening, you understood the sequence of dependent origination and how ignorance leads to fabrications, and then how the fabrications bring about our way of cognizing things, and bring about name and form, and bring about the sixth sense base, bring about contact, feeling, craving, grasping, bringing about continued existence and bringing about rebirth. And then with rebirth, the continued roundabout of suffering. And seeing that if you were the Sammasambuddha who's just realized that, then there's another side of the sutta that the Buddha subsequently taught, which is the Upanisa Sutta, that shows how out of the very depth of the completely pervasive, painful, seemingly inescapable nature of the cycle of birth and death in samsara, and how that impersonal process unfolds, and seeing that then it's possible that there's an escape, which could lead to saddha, or faith, which could lead to gladness, which could lead to the piti, the bliss of meditation, that could lead to tranquility, that could lead to happiness, that could lead to samadhi, or the stillness of the deep meditation. And from that fundamentally beautiful process, it's like as if you had been in the middle of some kind of a really intense dysfunctional drama that went on and on for many years, and always like buffeted here and there by mentally ill people who were ventilating and projecting their whatever they've got in their head onto you, and then being, caught up and infected and infested with those same kind of patterns, and in that, and then suddenly something happens, and you escape from that cycle of drama, and find yourself perhaps alone in a cabin in the forest or something, without any internet and without any distractions, just alone with your thoughts. And then it could be that, that after some time, the mind gets to be tired of worrying about the negativities of the past, and just willing to let go. And then the inherent capacity for liberation might arise in terms of these wholesome and happy states that can arise. But then, even these wholesome states, which are in some ways very much related to the meditation process, not just samadhi, but tranquility and which is passaddhi, and bliss, which is piti, and happiness, which is sukha. These are qualities to be experienced within meditation when the mind has temporarily let go of the patterns of the five hindrances and obtained seclusion from the hindrances, seclusion from craving, seclusion from unwholesome states of mind. And just that separation has got these qualities which support entering into samadhi. And then that's the point in which this aspect of jnana dasana, or truly knowing and seeing, is able to arise. And, I kind of see two ways that truly knowing and seeing arises from samadhi. One is that within meditation, it's possible for the conventional perceptions to fall apart and to see and experience the ever-flowing flow of the process of the mind without locking it into these fixed structures of the perceptions that we give a name to, or stories, or ideas, or intentions that have got that kind of fixed pattern. But instead, being able to see within the meditation, everything's falling apart and ceasing, continuously falling apart and ceasing. So that can be experienced inside. And so that's one way of seeing, oh, it really is not the way it seemed to be with those fixed ideas, those fixed perceptions. And then alternatively, upon emerging from meditation, if a person needs to solve problems and have relationships with people, it's very likely that the mind will again spring up, at least at a functional level, even if we don't believe in identification with the self as being the way to liberation. Nevertheless, the conventional self springs up, and then we experience the pain of it. Truly, how painful it is to have a mind which continuously is drawn into creating these fabrications, these concepts, these compromises, and which is continuously involved in trying to get this or trying to get away from that, trying to protect this or trying to destroy that. The whole process is just so tiresome and so weary. And so then that's where the nibbida will come up. And then so that disappointment. And then directly from nibbida comes this other mysterious Pali word, which is called viraga, which is sometimes translated as dispassion. The verb for viraga is called virajati, and what that means is that one detaches from something, one loses interest in something, one loses the desire for something, one becomes indifferent to that something. So it's the fading away of desire, attachment, or partiality, which is the, so this nibbida and viraga are really a pair that are almost like a twin, like bread and butter, how they go together. Being disappointed with whatever process or whatever the phenomena is that might have been the way to the end of dukkha, but it's not. And so we're disappointed with that. And then it's like maybe like a cold shower or something, so it cools down the desire. It cools down the inflammation. Just earlier today, I was I got a very nice email from Chintana asking a question about the near enemy of metta. And I had to look it up in the Visuddhimagga. And it's not actually that easy to do because for some reason or other, the internet does not possess a line-by-line Pali and English version of the Visuddhimagga. So then I had to read it in Pali and find the line about the near enemy in a Pali rendition. And the word that is translated there, sometimes it's translated as that the near enemy of metta is affection, or sometimes they say the near enemy is greed, or they say the near enemy is lust. But actually in Pali, the near enemy of metta is raga. And raga is one of the three roots. It's very close to a desire, or very close to greed. So greed is lobha, and so raga is kind of like a inflammation of greed. You don't only have raga for the people you love or the pleasant sensual experiences. One can have a raga about one's views and opinions. One can become inflamed in desiring to be right. So it can apply in other ways, but it's this quality of an inflammation. In the fire sermon, the Buddha said, the eye is on fire. With what is it on fire? Ragagina, mohagina, dosagina. The mind is on fire with raga, with that desire, with delusion, and with hatred and delusion. So I'm not afraid of dukkha. dukkha is just one of those things. If I personally experiencing some kind of arising of some inflammation of dukkha or inflammation of desire, then I know that I need to go back to the first half of the Upanishad Sutta, and I've got to understand it. I've got to understand dependent origination, taking one down into the depth of dukkha, and understand that very thoroughly and see like which part of that sequence is the part that started to flare up. So try to see it like really clearly and really know that this is the experience of dukkha, this is the opportunity. So if we still have within ourselves, if we're not fully enlightened, and we still have buried deep within ourselves these assumptions about the nature of reality, and these deeply ingrained emotions related to aversion and desire, that the arising of dukkha is a chance, that's the opportunity there's the pointer where to look to see it. And then, but don't stop there, but then go into the other part of this spiral of the proximate cause in the Upanishad Sutta. So, having seen what dukkha is and how it operates, one becomes disillusioned with dukkha. We are no longer tricked by dukkha, no longer fooled by dukkha. We see dukkha just the way it is. And we're not the slightest bit fooled by it. And then one turns away from dukkha. Atani bindati dukkha. And this is the path to purification. So I'm sure that for most of you, this is not a new ground, that you've heard about the Upanishad Sutta before, and you've heard about Nibbida before, you've learned about Viraga before. You might have even heard about relinquishment before. That's the sort of a strong turning away based on disgust. Maybe you could say that while you're within meditation, in that really calm space of meditation, like Nibbida is like what's operating there. But then if after coming out of meditation, if you sort of start to fall off the track, and if the inflammation comes up, then that's where a little bit of disgust could be just the thing that you need to be able to pull back quickly and to keep the motivation going to stay on this path of purification. So this is what I have for you tonight, and I will be very happy to hear your stories about how you have personally found this part of the teachings of the Buddha to be beneficial in your own practice, or if anybody has a question about what I've attempted to explain tonight, welcome to put the hand up. And I also include those people who are in the room here tonight. If anybody here would like to ask a question, you can do that. But if you're in the room, you're going to need to speak to the microphone so that others can hear. Okay, I'll call on Sochi.
Thank you. And thank you for the teaching. I'm actually not familiar with Nibbida. Is it a sutta or somewhere where I could go and further explore it?
I'm going to put this in the chat. If you Google Upanisa Sutta, it will pop up immediately for you. This is a very popular sutta. Let me see if I can find chat. Okay. And those Pali words are referring to the proximate cause. So it's like one thing leads to another.
Thank you.
Yeah. Richard.
Thank you, Ayya. I try to wait a little while before raising my hand to give others a chance. But if it seems like there's a lull and no one's responding, then I don't want the class to end early.
Yes.
So I'm sorry, because I'm greedy for hearing the Dharma. But anyways, you were describing viraga, and I want to give a slightly different way to look at it. So in my opinion, V means like complete or final, and raga is you, and you is color, and emotions are always considered to be colors. All over the world, different societies come up with that same paradigm, red with anger, green with envy, whatever. I get the blues, whatever, like that. So when we talk about viraga, if you think about complete color, well, what is complete color? White is actually contains all the other colors together. And Buddha gives the simile of the white cloth, where he talks about a blind man who's given a dirty cloth, but he told it's perfectly clean and white and everything, right? Like that. So when the mind becomes completely clean like that in white, right? Then you have cessation, nirodha. So from viraga, that complete cleanliness of the mind, like the highest emotion, you might say, complete white, clean mind, right? Empty mind like that. Then you have nirodha, cessation, and that nirodha can help you then understand, how to enter into nibbana, so or attain nibbana, I should say. So you were mentioning, I believe, if I remember correctly, a little about the dependent origination, and it's very interesting to note that after Buddha attained, he figured out dependent origination just before he attained nibbana. But after he attained nibbana, he sat in samadhi, I would assume probably in cessation, for 7 days, and then he came out. And when he came out, he spent the night meditating on dependent origination, contemplating dependent origination, forward, backward, and forward and backward, depending on the 3 periods of the night. So the dependent origination is really you might say, the super foundation of how to get into and understand the Buddha's teaching. And another point I wanted to make is that just came to me as you were talking, is when Buddha attained Nibbana, and then he went and he helped his 5 friends, the 5 ascetics, to attain Nibbana, and then he converted Yasa to stream entry. And then Yasa's father came along looking for him because he had kind of run off from home and disappeared. And Buddha told his father, "Oh, just wait here. He'll be along shortly," right? So the father sits down and the Buddha gives him a talk. And while he gives him a talk, the father, a layman, becomes a stream enterer, right? Or as I prefer to say, a hearing enterer. And Yasa becomes an arahant. And then the father invites him for the meal the next day at the home. And then the Buddha gives a talk to the family, and the mother and his former wife, I believe it was, they also attain Sotapanna. And the Buddha describes that there were 6 Buddhas before him, 3 of which their Dharma lasted a long time, and 3 didn't. And he said the 3 that didn't, they were sort of like off in the jungle, mostly just dealing with students, of high caliber, right? That would come. Whereas the 3 that did, they developed rules and regulations eventually, right? The Patimokkha, what we call today the Patimokkha. And I think it's because of this experience of the Buddha earlier. I'm not sure if people can see the connection I'm making here, but this experience of seeing lay people able to become so easily, right? He only has, before this, 5 arahants and 1 sotapanna, right? Yasa, right? And suddenly these lay people, are just like that, attaining, sotapanna, stream entry, right? And so I think that had an impact on him as to why he made his teaching so interconnected with the laity, right? That it was very important for the monastics, right, to work in this interconnection and dependence, etc., mutual dependence on the laity, right? The monastics were dependent on the laity for the requisites, and the laity are dependent on the monastics for the Dharma, right? And I think because of that experience, it came so quickly that the laity started to catch on right away, and attain Sotapanna. Anyways, that's just a hypothesis of mine or conjecture, however you want to describe it. But I thought it might be interesting to contemplate. Anyway, thank you very much for listening.
Okay, thank you. So waking up is natural. If we could just find out how to get out of the way and be in the presence of this wonderful teaching, then we would wake up. The only reason that we've been going for so many weeks of being exposed to hearing the Dhamma, probably more than 20 or 30 weeks, some of you more than 200 or 300 weeks or 2,000 weeks, how many weeks you've been listening to the Dhamma, and if you still didn't find out how to get out of the way and to allow this Dhamma to do what it does, meaning this path of practice. And it's been a wonderful thing for me during these recent weeks as we were talking about compassion and emptiness, this theme of emptiness and the way it's given in the Chula Sunyata Sutta about noticing that which is present and that which is not present, and training the mind to be able to pay attention to what's not present, to give equal weight to what's present and what's not present, is such a natural and normal and intuitive way to be able to retrain the mind so that we could see cessation, so that you could see that the kind of the dysfunctional drama or the rat race or whatever it is that we were born into when we took the human birth, that's not the only way. That there's a different way, and when the mind is following this path of training, it is natural and it is intuitive, that one can step aside and I'm sure there's been a moment for every single one of you. You could think of some moment when your mind and your heart and your body were all inflamed by something that had gotten you all wound up. And then that moment came for you where there was the flash of insight that says, wow, everything that I was inflamed about really doesn't have that significance at all. And the whole thing just can collapse and can become either a reason to smile or a reason for compassion, to see the mind is able to do that. Is able to become so embroiled, so inflamed, and so caught up in different kinds of fabrications and reactions. So beginning to see the way to turn down the heat, turn down the fire, and realizing that the cool state is really the natural state. And then eventually this mind and this heart could become completely cooled down, and that will be Nibbana. So this is my Dhamma reflection for everybody tonight, and our timing is perfect, so we can pay respects to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi. Svakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasami. Subharibanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami.
Thank you, Ayya.
Okay, thank you everybody for your
Thank you.
practice and your patient
Thank you,
listening.
Ayya.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.